Welcome back to the King Film Sports March Madness 2023 predictions, and let's get right into it with the first round out of the South region, number 1 overall seed Alabama, and we're going to have them cruising over the 16 seeds. So for the sake of length of this video, I'm not going to have any 16 or 15 seeds winning. We'll see about 14 seeds later, but let's get into this 8-9 competitive matchup. Maryland against West Virginia. I'm going to have West Virginia winning this one. I could see this one going either way. Maryland's pulled off a couple upsets in the Big Ten, but West Virginia has just been surging as of late in the Big 12. Granted that they have been playing a really tough schedule, and I think these Big 12 teams will thrive in this tournament, getting to get out of their own conference and playing some other competition. Give me the Mountaineers there. In the 1-9 matchup, I really wanted to go with West Virginia, just my gut punch reaction, but I'm going to go with Alabama here just for the safety of if Maryland were to win, say, and then beat Alabama, I get just as much value from picking that. So I'm going to have Bama here just to show off some of the better upsets, but you guys can get mad at me in the comment section. Tell me who you've got in that game. But then in the 5-12, we've got our first upset here, and I'm going to pick College of Charleston. As I've said down the stretch of the season here in these bracketology videos, San Diego State hasn't really beat anyone. I think they do deserve the 5 seed. They did very solid in a Mountain West conference that got one more team that I really expected them to with Nevada, but I'm going to have College of Charleston here. They were ranked at one point this season, just the 3 losses. Great team. We're going to have College of Charleston. Then 4-13, UVA Furman. I'm going to have Virginia winning that one pretty easily. I think their defense makes them susceptible maybe with their lack of offense, but I think that they're a more solid team here. And then I have UVA cleaning up College of Charleston. This is an interesting matchup, though, because College of Charleston can shoot it very well. I think UVA can ward off their attempts here, but that would be a very interesting matchup. And a similar kind of matchup with UVA against Alabama, with Alabama being the sharpshooting team. If College of Charleston was to play them, that game would get a lot of points. But I'm going to have UVA again. I think that Alabama's a bit fraudulent. They did win that SEC tournament, so that humbled me a little. That's why I'm not having the 9 seed beat them, but I'm going to have UVA in the Elite 8. At the bottom of this same bracket, we've got Creighton against number 11 seed NC State. I think NC State's a lot overrated, and I like Creighton a lot this year. They played well in this Big East. We're a preseason top 10. I'm going to have Creighton in that 6-11 matchup. Then Baylor got a pretty bad draw here with UCSB. I think it's one of the tougher 14s. I could see Baylor losing this one, but I'm going to have them winning. Their defense has faltered down the stretch of the season, but I'm still going to have them winning this 14-3 matchup. They have lost in the past. Yale beat them in the 14-3, so it's a pretty bad matchup for them, but I like Baylor here. Then in the 6-3, I'm going to have it almost easier for Baylor here. I think they have a better matchup against Creighton overall. As I said before, their defense has faltered down the stretch. They lost to Iowa State twice at the end of Big 12 play, but I like Baylor to get into the Sweet 16 here to follow with their 3 seed. In the 7-10 matchup here, Mizzou was ranked towards the end of the season against a 10-seed Utah State, which a lot of people had in the play-in, so I could foresee a lot of the public not taking Utah State. Could be a little value pick if you guys are looking for a value pick, but I don't see Utah State winning this one. Give me the Mizzou Tigers to win there. And then Arizona against Princeton, we're going to have Arizona. In the 7-2, a lot of people will have Missouri winning this matchup because Missouri beat Tennessee on that buzzer beater. They've gotten lucky a number of times this season, have played well in the SEC, and were ranked. So I'm going to have Arizona winning this, but a lot of people are going to have Mizzou winning that, and I could see it happening as well. Then Baylor against Arizona. I think Arizona is the more solid team here. They're hotter down the stretch, just won that Pac-12 tournament, so I'm going to have Arizona play UVA. And we'll get to that matchup in just a bit. But first, let's go to the Midwest region where we've got Houston against NKU. Of course, Houston there. Did not have Sasser in that American Conference Championship, but I think he'll be back for this first and second round games. Iowa against Auburn, and you guys know that I have been fading Iowa for a while here. Faded them in the Big Ten tournament, and it worked out. So I'm going to fade them again. I respect Auburn. They've played a little bit hotter towards the end of the season. So we'll see what happens. I just faded Auburn too, though, in the SEC tournament. So this one could go either way. I'm going to pick Auburn here, though. Miami against Drake. I'm going to have Miami pretty easily. Miami's one of the few teams out of the ACC that I actually respect here, even though I did just have UVA getting to the Elite Eight. I think Miami's a solid overall team. Then IU against Kent State. I'm going to have IU here. Kent State, winners of the MAC, just beat Toledo. They've been pretty solid over the course of the season, but I don't think that they can beat out Trace Jackson Davis in this solid IU squad. That being said, I'm going to have IU beating Miami here to force the game against Houston, who I have beating Auburn pretty easily in that second round there. Houston against Indiana, and just to go back to that Houston against Auburn game, Auburn almost beat Bama, and Bama beat Houston, so that could be a very competitive game. Not really giving it enough respect there, but I'm going to have Houston for the sake of my bracket. Houston's cooked me a couple times over the past few years where I've picked them to not go as far, so I'm going to pick them. And speaking of, I'm going to pick them against Indiana. I think Indiana has a lot of traps along their path here. I could see them losing to Kent State. I could see them losing to Miami, and this is where I have them losing to a more skilled overall Houston team. Indiana, of course, lost to Penn State in that Big Ten championship, but Penn State was obviously hot. Houston will be pretty good here, but I think Indiana will be happy with the Sweet 16 berth here. On the bottom of this bracket, Mississippi State against Pitt. I'm officially picking Mississippi State for that game, just to tell everyone in the audience, but I have Iowa State beating them. They lost Caleb Grill, as I've mentioned in my other videos, but they've been playing better down the stretch here. Just beat Baylor twice, as I've said, and they've been looking pretty solid. And then Xavier, I see as the weakest 3 seed in this tournament, but Kennesaw State is not beating them under any circumstance. Give me Xavier there, but I'm going to have Iowa State beating Xavier. I respect these lower-seeded Big 12 teams as they've played that gauntlet of slate. Iowa State is a little fraudulent. I could see them losing to an underseeded team like Mississippi State, as Mississippi State did beat TCU at home. Of course, Miles got injured in that game, but see Iowa State getting to the Sweet 16 here. And then Texas A&M against Penn State. This should be a great matchup. Texas A&M's a little underseeded here for being top 25. Just lost to Alabama in the championship. Penn State's in a similar position, got hot in the Big Ten, earned their 10 seed from being out of the tournament, just lost barely to Purdue. This one could go either way. I'm going to have Texas A&M to force the pseudo-rivalry matchup against Texas that we were robbed of that one season when UNI got these upsets. So Texas A&M against Texas, I'm going to have Texas winning. I could see this one going either way, but I think Texas is hotter right now for one, and played the harder schedule all season, has played very well, has a number of marquee wins. So give me that Iowa State against Texas game, and then this is just good old-fashioned right back to Big 12. You get 2 games off. I'm going to take Texas here. I think they're the more solid squad overall. Then we've got a rivalry, but first let's get into UVA Zona that I avoided. And as I mentioned before, I only have UVA getting to the Elite Eight, which I think is definitely their ceiling. They can even make it this far. I'm going to have Arizona winning, although I would love to see that Arizona-Bama matchup. And then Houston-Texas is a rivalry matchup that we'll see plenty of times in the Big 12 next year. And, of course, Texas is leaving after that, but we're going to have Texas here. I think that they're the hotter team right now, and I see them getting to the Final Four pretty easily. East region, Purdue, of course, winning. Then Memphis, I see them winning easily over an overrated FAU squad. They were top 25 at one point in the season, but Memphis just beat Houston, of course, without Sasser. But I think Memphis will win this one. They gave the 1 seed a scare last year in Gonzaga in that top left region, so I'd like them to give Purdue a scare here. But I'm going to have Purdue winning that game to get to the Sweet 16. I really wanted to pick Memphis. I feel like it will be too public. A lot of people will be picking Memphis here. So I'm just going to have Purdue, but I could see them losing. Then the 5-12, Duke, Oral Roberts. I could see this one going either way, to be honest, but I'm going to have Duke here. And then Tennessee, Louisiana. Louisiana is just not good. Tennessee is without Ziegler, as I mentioned in the past videos. You know, I believed in them to win the SEC tournament. They just aren't really looking good. They will beat Louisiana, but I think they will lose to Duke. Duke's playing better. Roach is back. Filipowski, etc. Their whole lineup looked pretty good in that ACC tournament. So I'm going to have them beating Tennessee here. And you might think I'm pretty high on the ACC. I'm really not high on these lower teams, but Duke and Virginia are some pretty good teams. And then Miami, of course, I don't have getting upset. So if you call that me projecting them to be good, then you could say that. And then I have Duke beating Purdue. Again, as I mentioned, Filipowski, I think he can shut down Zach Edey. I think they can shut down the perimeter from Purdue. Purdue looked good in the Big Ten tournament, almost choking to Penn State in that final game. But I see Duke winning this game and getting to the Elite Eight here. Finally, we've got Kentucky against Providence, and Providence just is not good. Kentucky's been hot, of course, lost to Vandy, a Vandy team that was more desperate, but I think both teams wanted to win that game. Kentucky's a little fraudulent, but Providence is so bad. Kentucky's winning that game easy. Then Kansas State against Montana State, 14-3. Easy money here. Kansas State. Sorry, Montana State, but congrats on getting to the tournament again. 10-7, I'm going to have USC beating MSU here. MSU can't really match the size of USC as two good bigs, and so I'm going to take the 10 seed over the 7 here. Then Marquette against Vermont, pretty easy. Marquette there. But then USC, I could see beating Marquette here, and that is what I'm going to have happen in a shocking upset, 10 seed over 2. Going to have USC. Marquette plays great as a team. Tyler Kolek has led this team great. They just won the Big East tournament, but in past years, some of these teams that win these tournaments have been fraudulent in the tournament. So I'm going to take USC to win, but I could also see Michigan State beating Marquette here. Then the 6-3, Kentucky against Kansas State. And of course, these 6-11s are pretty sticky, but I'm going to have Kansas State winning. Keontae Johnson and co. battled through a tough Big 12. I think they're a little overrated, but I can't argue with them in this spot. I think they have a good draw, and I could see this region in particular going any way, but 3-10, Kansas State, I'm going to have to end USC's run here. Kansas State is just going to be too good. But then in the 5-3 for the Final Four, I'm going to give it to Duke. They've been playing good down the stretch here, made that run last year. I think that they can make a run in this tournament. Final region in the West region before we get to our Final Four predictions, Kansas over Howard. Arkansas over Illinois. I think that both these teams, this is a pretty fair matchup. I see Arkansas winning this one. I've liked the Hogs a little more all year. Illinois just have some solid wins this season, but just lost to Penn State. A Penn State that made the final of the Big Ten. I went out of the limb and took Illinois in the Big Ten tournament. I'm going to have to take Arkansas here, though. St. Mary's against VCU, another game that I could see going either way. I'm going to give the Gales the win, but just barely. They have to go all the way to the other side of the country. It's a sticky one. VCU obviously has upset experience galore, but I'm going to have St. Mary's winning, so it's a little chalky in this quadrant here. Then UConn against Iona. I'm going to have to take UConn again. I had them winning the Big East tournament. It didn't work, but I'm going to remain high on them, have them win against St. Mary's as well. St. Mary's is a similar team to Virginia of the world. Rutgers, who didn't actually make the tournament. Great defense, a little bit bad on offense, and if you get a hot shooting team like I think UConn can be, they can lose easily, just like they did to Gonzaga in that WCC tournament final. It was pretty much a blowout. They haven't played for 2 weeks, so for that reason, I'm taking UConn. Kansas against Arkansas. Kansas, easy money right there. I'm sorry. Then Kansas against UConn. I'm going to take Kansas. I think that they can bounce back. Bill Self will be back. I don't think that really affects them too much, but Kansas to the Elite Eight there. In our final 8th of the bracket, this bottom section, I could see everything breaking loose here. TCU is a sleeper pick of mine, and they did not get it done in the Big 12 tournament like I thought they would, at least going to the final, but I'm going to take them here over ASU/Nevada. That will be a great first 4 game. I'm going to have to take ASU for now. I reserved a right to change that though, but I think TCU will beat the winner pretty easily. Then Gonzaga over Grand Canyon, a Western matchup in the Western region. This is a good old-fashioned fight. Grand Canyon plays great offense. Gonzaga plays better offense. I think Gonzaga could win and put up triple digits here. Northwestern against Boise State. I'm going to have to take Boise State in the upset here. Another 10 seed winning for me. So Boise State, I think, is the one Mountain West team that I believe in. They're a little underseeded, and I think Northwestern is just fraudulent. Picked against them in the Big Ten tournament. Again, it worked out for me, so I'm going to take them here. Then UCLA against UNC Asheville. Easy money, UCLA there. I'm going to have UCLA ending Boise State's run, but I could see them easily beating Northwestern too. Northwestern does have those upsets, though. They beat Indiana and Purdue this season, so Northwestern gets there. I could see them being a trendy upset pick for this UCLA team that hasn't really beaten anyone, but we'll get back to that fact in the next round. TCU against Gonzaga. I really originally picked Gonzaga, but now I'm going to have to pick TCU. I'm sorry. Gonzaga lost to Texas by 20. They have improved over the course of the season, but you don't really know that from this WCC slate they play, and it's the same thing every year with Gonzaga. I'm going to take TCU here, and I'm going to take TCU again over UCLA in a shocking upset. Not really. I've been talking trash about UCLA all year. They have been fraudulent. Didn't really beat anyone out of conference. Lost to Illinois, in fact, in the out of conference. Also lost to Baylor, who TCU played well. So I'm going to have TCU getting to the Elite Eight, but I see Kansas ending their run there in another Big 12 conference matchup. So let's get to the Final Four, where we've got Texas and Kansas on the one side and Arizona and Duke. We've seen this Texas-Kansas matchup way too many times already. I'm going to have Texas this time. And maybe it's just that Big 12 championship game / final game at Texas that's brainwashing me, but I do not see a way that Kansas wins this game right now. I had a thesis during the Big 12 title game, and that went awry. So you're just going to have to ride with Texas here. And let's take another 2 seed in Arizona to crush Duke here. Duke will have done well to make it this far. Quite frankly, they might not. This bracket could be very wrong, but I think Arizona's a safe pick here. And Arizona against Texas, I'm going to have Arizona take off the upset here. Arizona was undefeated out of conference, similar to UConn, but only started to falter in the Pac-12. They lost to some lower down teams, but against the top tier competition, they've been very good, just beat UCLA. So I think that Arizona can win March Madness, and that is my official prediction. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave your predictions below.